Hello everyone, my name is Chung Chiteng and I will be presenting about Service-Oriented Architecture or SOA. Service-Oriented Architecture is a style of architecture based on services. A service is a well-defined and self-contained functionality. In this architecture, different services communicate with each other to perform some activity. These services are loosely coupled. In example, a service need not know the technical details of another service that it is interacting with. Generally, SOA consists of three components, which are service provider, service consumer, and service repository. A service provider is a component or set of components that execute a business function in a stateless fashion, accepting predefined inputs and outputs. A service consumer is a set of components interested in using one or more of the services provided by service providers. A service repository contains the descriptions of the services. Service providers register their services in this repository, and service consumers access the repository to discover the services being provided. While communicating, the service provider and the consumer both adhere to a predefined protocol. How does SOA works? SOA works by implementing and dividing codes into reusable model. This allows for service reuse, making it necessary to start from scratch when upgrades and other modifications are needed. This is a benefit to businesses that seek ways to save time and money. The other main features of SOA are SOA works by re-implementing and dividing codes into reusable model. SOA is built on the network. Modules are communicating by sending messages to each other over the network, rather than by more traditional programming language mechanism like procedure calls. How do SOA differs from traditional architecture? SOS, which are loosely coupled architectures, tend to separate the services interface definition from the service actual implementation, making for even more looseness. In other words, traditional multi-tier architecture looks something like this, while SOA often insert an additional service layer and end up looking like this. So, if a service is ultimately implemented in the business layer, with say Java developers in the presentation layer don't have to be don't have to be able to read a single line of Java in order to talk to the service. They just have to be able to read the interface. Since the interface is separated from the implementation, SOS service consumers have no need to care about the service underlying implementation. Their only concern is supplying the service with the input information listed in the interface definition and getting the results back. Since the service layer frees consumers from caring about the underlying technologies in the business layer, software reuse is far more likely. Before moving on, I would like to clarify that SOA is not web services. Although it is built on similar principles, SOA is not the same as web services, which indicates a collection of technologies such as SOAP and XML. Web services can be thought of as a consumer-provider relationship on the web, while SOA is about designing your architecture to best work in a web service environment. It is more than a set of technologies and runs independent of any specific technologies. The strengths of SOA are as follows. Service reusability. In SOA, an application is built by assembling small self-contained and loosely coupled pieces of functionality. Therefore, the services can be reused in multiple applications independent of their interactions with other services. Easy maintainability. Since a service is an independent entity, it can be easily upgraded or maintained without having to worry about other services. Large, complex applications can thus be managed easily. Greater reliability. SOA-based applications are more reliable since small independent services are easier to test and debug as compared to massive chunks of codes. Improve software quality. Since services can be reused, there's no scope for redundant functionality. This helps reduce errors due to inconsistent data and thereby improves the quality of the code. However, there are a few disadvantages of SOA, which are overhead increase. Every time a service interacts with another service, complete validation of every input parameter takes place. This increases the response time and machine load and thereby reduces the overall performance. Complex service management. The service needs to ensure that messages have been delivered in a timely manner, but as services keep exchanging messages to perform tasks, the number of these messages can go into millions even for a single application. This poses a big challenge to manage such a huge population of services. High investment costs. Implementation of SOA requires a large upfront investment by means of technology, development, and human resources. Furthermore, SOA is not recommended for the following type of applications. Homogeneous. Implementing SOA for applications that use the technologies of a single vendor will not be cost effective. For example, if an application is built in Java, then it will be better to use methods of Java rather than using HTTP for inter-component communications. Real time. SOA is not desirable to be used with strictly enforced response times since the service communicate asynchronously. An example of a SOA-based application is the MAL Enterprise Service Bus. MAL ESB is a lightweight Java-based enterprise service bus and integration platform that allows developers to connect applications together quickly and easily, enabling them to exchange data. MAL ESB enables easy integration of existing systems, regardless of the different technologies that the application use, including JMS, web services, JDBC, HTTP, and more. The key advantage of an ESB is that it allows different applications to communicate with each other by acting as a transit system for carrying data between applications within your enterprise or across the internet. MAL ESB includes powerful capabilities that include service creation and hosting, service mediation, message routing, and data transformation. In simpler terms, MAL ESB helps developers to integrate and connect more applications over time. MAL manages all the interactions between applications and components transparently, regardless of whether they exist in the same virtual machine or over the internet, and regardless of the underlying transport protocol used. Another example of SOA implementation is IBM WebSphere Process Server. IBM WebSphere Process Server is a comprehensive service-oriented architecture integration platform, which is based on WebSphere Application Server. Developer can use WebSphere Process Server to develop and execute standards-based, component-based business integration applications in a service-oriented architecture. Conceptually, SCA describes all integration artifacts as a service components with well-defined interfaces. SCA also introduces the concept of a module which groups together service components and provides further specification and encapsulation of services. Integration developers can use the assembly editor in WebSphere integration developer to group services components into models and to specify which service interface developer wants exposed by the model to outside consumers. Developers can use services that include important components such as Java Beans or web services, along with service components that WebSphere Process Server provides. Developers can then connect the modules together to form complete integration solution. SCA concepts allows encapsulation of integration logic within modules. This means that developer can make a change to a service component within a module without affecting any of the other modules in the overall solution, as long as the interface of the module change stays the same. Moving on to the last part, which is conclusion. I'll be describing that I'll be talking about why SOA is not a popular architecture in the modern software development cycle. Even though SOA is a very powerful and flexible architecture, many developers believe SOA is dead as an architectural practice. However, it is not, as SOA is only dead as a standalone business initiative, while it is more to an approach to building many applications. It's service enabling all your functions, IT functions, or ideally the business functions. If one tries to develop one application using SOA, one might be disappointed in the result it promises. Thanks for listening.